I, a 40-year-old woman, find myself caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions over a recent decision concerning my family. Seeking perspectives from others, I recount the tumultuous events that unfolded in my life 8 years ago when my husband, Robert, blindsided me with the news of his departure. Robert's sudden revelation shook the foundation of our family, leaving me grappling with a myriad of emotions. Our marriage, which had endured over a decade, seemed solid and unwavering until Robert's shocking confession. Despite noticing his increasingly distant demeanor in the weeks leading up to the revelation, I had brushed it off as typical work-related stress. The idea of infidelity had never crossed my mind, and I was utterly unprepared for the bombshell Robert dropped on me. In the raw moments of his confession, Robert divulged his affair with a woman named Isabella, describing her in glowing terms that cut through me like a knife. The realization that he had been nurturing a connection with someone else for the past 3 months left me reeling with a mixture of anger and despair. Despite his assurances of continued love for our family, Robert expressed his need to explore his feelings for Isabella further. As Robert spoke of his intentions to meet Isabella in person and potentially start a new life with her, I felt the walls of our home closing in around me. The sheer magnitude of his decision left me speechless, struggling to comprehend how our seemingly solid foundation had crumbled so abruptly. With trembling voice, I confronted Robert, seeking clarity on his intentions and grappling with the heartbreaking reality of our shattered family dynamic. In the aftermath of Robert's confession, I found myself grappling with the weight of his decision and the uncertain future it posed for me and our children. While he offered assurances of financial support, his determination to pursue his newfound love left me feeling adrift in a sea of uncertainty. As the news sank in, it felt like my entire world was crumbling. The realization that my husband was abandoning our family for someone he hadn't even met face to face hit me like a ton of bricks. In that moment, my instinct was to plead, to beg, to do anything to make him reconsider. But as I looked into his eyes, I saw a resolve that told me his decision was final. Robert packed his bags and left the following week, leaving me to grapple with the task of explaining to our children why their father wouldn't be returning. Emily, at 9 years old, bombarded me with questions I couldn't answer, while Nathan, just 4 at the time, clung to me as if sensing the gravity of the situation. Amidst the chaos, I felt numb and broken, but my children became my lifeline, keeping me afloat in a sea of despair. When I confided in my family, they mirrored my shock and disbelief. None of us could comprehend why my husband of many years would make such a drastic choice. While my parents urged legal action, I felt lost, clinging to the hope that Robert would come back to us. Seeing Robert's parents, devastated and helpless, only added to the heartache. They pleaded with their son to return, but his resolve remained unyielding. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, and still, there was no sign of him. In the midst of this turmoil, our family and friends rallied around us, offering unwavering support and a comforting presence. I threw myself into finding employment, determined to provide stability for Emily and Nathan, yet the pain of betrayal lingered like a shadow. Amidst the struggle, Robert's parents stepped in, offering financial assistance and helping with childcare when I needed a respite. 8 long years have passed since then, and Robert's presence in our lives has faded into obscurity. Though he sporadically sent money, he never made an effort to reach out to me or the children, becoming nothing more than a distant memory. Over the years, I've assumed the role of a single parent, dedicating myself to providing for my children and showering them with the care and attention they deserve. While Emily occasionally reminisced about her father, she eventually ceased any attempts to reach out to him and learned to avoid mentioning him altogether. On the other hand, Nathan's memories of his father were far more faint, seldom bringing him up in conversation. Despite the absence of their father, both Emily and Nathan have blossomed into exceptional individuals. Recently, we were confronted with the unexpected passing of Robert's father, which led us to attend his funeral. Following this, we were contacted by the family lawyer, who informed us of Robert's provision for his grandchildren in his will. Though not a substantial sum, this unexpected inheritance could significantly alleviate the burden of my children's college expenses. Gathering my children together, I shared the news of this unexpected financial assistance, witnessing their faces light up with joy at the prospect of financial relief for their educational pursuits. It felt like a weight had been lifted off our shoulders, providing a sense of reassurance in the midst of uncertainty. Finally, it seemed as though pieces of our lives were falling into place. Just when things appeared to be settling, I received an unexpected call from an unfamiliar number. To my astonishment, it was Robert on the other end of the line. A flurry of conflicting emotions washed over me as I listened to his voice after 8 long years of silence. Hesitantly, he conveyed his urgency to meet with me, leaving me bewildered and curious about the purpose behind his sudden reappearance. When he failed to contact me beforehand, his persistent pleas became hard to ignore. After a moment of contemplation, I reluctantly agreed to meet him alone. The rendezvous was arranged, and we agreed to meet at a cafe near my office. As I hung up the phone, a whirlwind of questions and uncertainties flooded my mind, leaving me anxious about our impending meeting after 6 long years. Deciding to keep my children in the dark until after the meeting, I braced myself to discover what exactly he had to offer, as he had been persistently mentioning in his messages. The days leading up to our scheduled encounter were filled with a roller coaster of emotions. I found myself revisiting the pain of Robert's sudden departure, the challenges of single-handedly raising our children, and the years spent grappling with his abandonment. On the day of our meeting, I arrived early at the cafe, nervously sipping my coffee as I awaited Robert's arrival. It wasn't long before he walked in, his demeanor a blend of hesitation and determination. I couldn't help but notice how much older and weathered he appeared compared to the man I once knew. Our initial conversation was awkward, punctuated by uncomfortable silences and cautious exchanges. We skirted around the elephant in the room, engaging instead in polite pleasantries and superficial catch-ups, attempting to bridge the gap of the years that had passed. It felt as though we were two strangers attempting to navigate the remnants of a past life. Eventually, Robert mustered the courage to broach the reason for his sudden reappearance in our lives. He spoke of how his relationship with Isabella had not unfolded as he had hoped, revealing that she was not the person he thought she was. It turned out that she had kept her status as a single mother hidden until the moment he walked away from us, standing at her doorstep. Their relationship had been fraught with challenges, primarily due to her gambling addiction, which had depleted all of his finances. Despite frequent arguments, Robert had chosen to remain by her side, reluctant to give up on another person. However, with the recent passing of his father, he came to realize the brevity of life and the need to break free from his unhappy circumstances. He expressed deep regret for the choices he had made 8 years ago, often speaking of his longing for his family and the disappointment he felt in himself. Robert confessed that his father had bequeathed to him their lake house, a substantial property where they had once enjoyed family vacations before his departure. He proposed selling the house, which would secure his financial future. Moreover, he shocked me by expressing his desire to return to us, offering our children a life of luxury. He assured me that if I accepted him back, I would never have to work again, promising a life free from financial worries. Staring at him incredulously, I struggled to comprehend his audacious proposal, a plea for reconciliation, a second chance for our family, using the inheritance to forge a brighter future together. As I listened to Robert's enticing proposition, I weighed the potential benefits against the years of abandonment and anguish. Despite the allure of financial security, I could not disregard the deep-seated pain and resentment that had accumulated over his absence. With a heavy heart, I firmly declined his offer, expressing gratitude but affirming that some wounds cannot be healed with wealth alone. I emphasized the struggles of the past 8 years, explaining to him how I had single-handedly raised our children while juggling work. Despite not having everything, we had managed to maintain stability in our lives. I expressed my reluctance to risk putting myself and my children through that pain again. Protecting them was my priority, and I voiced my uncertainty about ever being able to trust him not to leave us again. Despite Robert's desperate pleas for reconsideration, I stood firm in my decision, knowing that allowing him back into our lives would entail a significant gamble on our family's stability. While the thought of rejecting his offer tugged at my heartstrings, especially considering the potential financial relief it could bring, I couldn't overlook the emotional scars he had inflicted. Since meeting with Robert, my parents have been urging me to reconsider my decision, emphasizing that he owes us a better life free from financial worries and limitations after what he put us through. They argued that people can change, and perhaps Robert has realized his mistakes and genuinely wants to rebuild our family. They accused me of being selfish, urging me to prioritize my children's comfort over my own heartbreak. I've been grappling with my decision, spending many sleepless nights contemplating the potential benefits of accepting Robert's offer versus the memories of our painful past. I've hesitated to inform my children about his return, fearing their reaction and how they would process the idea of their father re-entering their lives after 8 years of absence. I found myself questioning my judgment, torn between conflicting emotions. In light of the overwhelming response from thousands of comments and messages, I'm relieved to see that the majority don't view me as the one at fault. Taking heed of everyone's counsel, I determined it was time for a candid discussion with my children regarding Robert. I dreaded the possibility of his sudden reappearance catching them off guard. Today, after dinner, I gathered Emily and Nathan to gently broach the topic. I explained to them about their father's unexpected return and his proposal to rejoin our lives. Their expressions mirrored a blend of intrigue and bewilderment as they tried to grasp the situation. When I mentioned his inheritance of the lake house and his intention to sell it for our benefit, their responses varied. At 17, Emily displayed a spectrum of emotions, ranging from anger to astonishment. Like me, she couldn't fathom why Robert sought to return after so many years. Although she recalled her father and occasionally missed him, she also recollected the pain his absence had caused. Initially longing for a father figure, she eventually adapted to his absence and no longer desired his presence. On the other hand, 12-year-old Nathan admitted to having no recollection of Robert, thus expressing little interest in my rejection of the offer. He struggled to comprehend the gravity of the situation. Respecting their sentiments, I assured them that their decision would dictate our course of action. Emily vehemently expressed her reluctance to meet him, a sentiment Nathan echoed. Both were content with the status quo. It dawned on me that while the prospect of reconciliation held allure, the wounds of the past ran deep. My children's welfare took precedence. Reflecting on their firm stance, I affirmed my conviction in walking away from Robert, knowing it was the right decision. That day in the cafe was a turning point for me, marking the beginning of a journey fraught with difficult decisions and emotional turmoil. Following that encounter with Robert, I found myself grappling with a myriad of conflicting thoughts and emotions, unsure of which path to take. While I had never harbored intentions of reconciling with him, his sudden departure years ago had left loose ends that needed tying. As I sipped my coffee, waiting for Robert to arrive, my mind raced with questions and uncertainties. Memories of our past together flooded my thoughts, reminding me of the pain and heartache his departure had caused. Yet, amidst the whirlwind of emotions, there lingered a glimmer of hope. Hope for closure, for understanding, and perhaps even for forgiveness. When Robert finally walked in, I couldn't help but notice the changes time had wrought upon him. His once familiar face bore the marks of age and weariness, and his eyes, once filled with warmth, now betrayed a hint of apprehension. Our initial exchange was strained, filled with awkward silences and tentative words. We skirted around the elephant in the room, opting instead for polite pleasantries and superficial small talk. But as the minutes ticked by, the tension between us began to ease, giving way to a more candid conversation. Robert spoke of his reasons for returning, of his regrets and his desire for redemption. He admitted to the mistakes he had made, the pain he had caused, and the longing for a second chance. And as he laid bare his heart, I couldn't help but feel a pang of empathy for the man who had once been my husband. Yet, beneath the surface of his heartfelt words lay a revelation that would shake me to my core. It was during this conversation that Robert's true intentions came to light, a shocking revelation that cast his actions in a new light. His relentless pursuit of reconciliation was not born out of love or remorse, but rather out of a calculated scheme to secure ownership of a valuable asset. In that moment, the illusion of hope shattered, replaced by a stark realization of the depths of deception. The man I had once loved stood before me, exposed for who he truly was, a manipulator, driven not by love but by greed. And as I grappled with this newfound truth, I knew that I stood at a crossroads, faced with a decision that would shape the course of my future. I realized it was time to act. I couldn't continue in a relationship marred by manipulation and secrecy. As I sit down to write this, I've taken the first steps to seek out a lawyer who can assist me in preparing for divorce proceedings. Simultaneously, I've had a heartfelt discussion with my parents, who now regret advising me to reconsider Robert's proposal. They see now, as I do, that he hasn't changed, and they stand firmly behind my decision to move forward with the divorce. Blocking Robert's contact for the time being, I'm determined to focus on my own well-being. I plan to confront him directly when the time comes to serve him with divorce papers. In an update after 2 months, I'm pleased to share a positive turn of events. Following through with my plan, I reached out to Robert under the guise of arranging a meeting, which he readily agreed to. Emily and Nathan expressed a desire to meet their father one last time, seeking closure despite the pain of the past. Understanding their need, we organized a meeting in a neutral setting, a local park where our family had once shared happy moments before Robert's departure. Emily's eyes reflected a mix of emotions, from curiosity to skepticism, as she faced her father, while Nathan remained close to my side, uncertain of his place in the reunion. I began by confronting him, expressing my awareness of his true motives for reaching out to us after so many years. Robert attempted to defend himself, claiming that his intentions were genuine and not solely driven by the clause in his father's will. However, I couldn't bring myself to trust his words any longer. I made it unequivocally clear that our relationship was over, urging him to at least provide closure for our children by answering their lingering questions. With a heavy heart, I watched as my kids bravely confronted him, seeking answers to the painful questions that had plagued them for years. Emily, with a mix of sadness and anger, questioned whether his pursuit of happiness was worth the devastation he had left in his wake. Nathan, more direct in his approach, demanded to know if Robert's newfound happiness outweighed the pain he had inflicted upon his family. Robert, visibly remorseful, struggled to find adequate responses, acknowledging the gravity of his mistakes. As the conversation unfolded, my children's skepticism became apparent. They probed deeper, refusing to accept shallow justifications for his actions. Despite Robert's attempts to paint his affair as a midlife crisis, my children remained unconvinced, sensing the hollowness of his excuses. When asked why he had remained absent from our lives for so long, Robert confessed to being overwhelmed by guilt, unable to face the repercussions of his decisions. He spoke of his desire to mend our fractured family and provide us with financial security, but his words fell on deaf ears. In that moment, I knew that my children and I were united in our resolve to move forward without him. We had weathered the storms of his absence, emerging stronger and more resilient. No amount of money or promises could erase the pain he had caused or undo the bonds we had forged in his absence. With determination in my voice, I informed Robert that we no longer needed him or his financial assistance. We had moved on, finding strength in our unity and refusing to allow him to disrupt the peace we had fought so hard to achieve. I served him the divorce papers, watching as he scanned them with a mixture of remorse and disappointment. He pleaded with me, expressing his genuine desire to make amends for the lost years, but my resolve remained firm. In a last-ditch effort, he proposed splitting the proceeds from selling the lake house, suggesting it could be a way for both of us to benefit. Emily, my 17-year-old daughter, spoke up, asserting that we didn't need his financial support, a sentiment quickly seconded by Nathan, my 12-year-old son. It was evident that Robert was beginning to comprehend the gravity of his actions. Tears filled his eyes as he apologized profusely to the children, acknowledging the gravity of his mistake in abandoning us. As I walked away from the park hand in hand with Emily and Nathan, a sense of liberation washed over me. For years, I had carried the weight of our fractured family dynamic, silently bearing the burden for the sake of my children. But seeing my children stand up for me, offering unwavering support, filled me with an overwhelming sense of pride and strength. While our divorce proceedings will continue as planned, I know that severing legal ties will take time. In the meantime, I intend to take a hiatus and dedicate quality time to my children. A trip to Disneyland, long anticipated and eagerly awaited, is on the horizon. My goal is to create cherished memories with them, offsetting the pain of the past with moments of joy and laughter. With each other's support, I am confident that we will navigate whatever challenges lie ahead with resilience and determination. Despite the trials we have faced, my children and I are embarking on a journey of healing and growth. This chapter of our lives is far from over. We are now the authors of our own narrative, one defined by love, trust, and the unwavering bond between a mother and her children. I'm thrilled to share some exciting news. I've been promoted at work. It feels like a significant milestone, considering the journey it took to get here. Finally, I'm earning a comfortable income that allows me to better support my family. This promotion not only brings financial stability but also validates the years of hard work and dedication I've put in. On the personal front, the divorce proceedings are progressing smoothly. I've enlisted the help of an excellent lawyer who's confident in navigating the complexities of our history. While the process may not be straightforward, it's essential for closure and a fresh start. I'm grateful for the unwavering support of my family and friends throughout this journey. With my increased income, I'm prioritizing my children's well-being. Recognizing the potential impact of our past on their emotional health, I've decided to invest in therapy for them. Researching therapists specializing in addressing abandonment issues, I've found a compassionate professional who can help them navigate their emotions and overcome any lingering challenges. As a parent, I'm also committed to nurturing my children's interests beyond academics. Emily's artistic talent shines through her beautiful paintings, which now adorn our home. Meanwhile, Nathan's passion for soccer has always been evident, and we spend our weekends cheering him on at games. Encouraging their exploration and growth brings me immense joy and fulfillment. I'm delighted to see my children flourishing in their lives. Regarding Robert, we haven't been in touch, and I believe it's best to keep it that way. As many of you correctly guessed, his affair partner Isabella unexpectedly reached out to me one day. However, her message wasn't an apology, as one might expect from the other woman. Instead, it was filled with anger and resentment towards me. She blamed me for their relationship falling apart and accused me of being the reason for his departure. In her messages, Isabella lashed out, hurling hurtful accusations and questioning my motives. Her aggressive tone was unsettling, and I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the intensity of her anger. It was hard to fathom how she had the audacity to be angry at me when she was the reason behind my family breaking up 8 years ago. I responded to her, making it clear that I had no desire to be with Robert and that I was in the process of getting a divorce. I reminded her of the pain my family had endured when Robert left us for her and told her she had no right to contact me. I emphasized how our lives had been turned upside down all those years ago and how my children had suffered as a result. I blocked her after sending the message, hoping she wouldn't try to contact me further. As for Robert's mother, I do talk to her sometimes, as she has always been kind to me. She expressed her regrets about how things turned out and wants me to do whatever it takes to be happy. Interestingly, she also revealed that due to my decision not to reconcile with Robert, the lake house would not be going to him as his father had intended. This revelation was unexpected but also felt deserving. It's time to move forward and leave the past behind. I know it's going to be a challenging journey, but the healing process is well underway. My children are growing and thriving, and our future looks brighter with each passing day.